Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 14th City Council meeting. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Stacy, when you're ready, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Gary Donovan.
Councilman at Large. Donovan here.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor.
Councilwoman at Large here.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky, 1st District present.
Councilman William X. Conlon.
Councilman William X. Conlon, 2nd District present.
Councilwoman Elizabeth Johnston.
Councilwoman Johnston, 3rd District, present.
Councilman Mitchell Galagnano.
Councilman Mitchell Galagnano, 4th District, present.
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton.
Councilwoman Robin Hamilton, 5th District present.
Councilman Peter Massaro. Can you join us yet? Absent. Councilwoman Trenae McGee. Councilwoman Crystal Finelli.
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno.
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen. You're on mute there. But I see you. And Chairman Ron Quagliani.
Councilman Ron. So large. Okay, thank you, Stacy. We have a majority here so far this evening. Before we get started for public comment, I believe we have something to be read into the record. I'd just like to take a minute to acknowledge and have a moment of silence for a longtime West Haven resident, Gert Beckwith. Gert was a 74-year West Haven resident and really made her life a vocation for education and service. She was involved in many different things throughout the community, including the Ward Heitman House, the Friends of the West Haven Library, the Land Trust, Seth Haley School, American Legion Auxiliary, and she also served as 6 years as an elected member of the West Haven Board of Education. She had a passion to tutor ESL students and adult immigrants, teaching them to learn English. I'd also, at this time, like to have a moment of silence for Councilman Mitch Galagnano's mom, who had passed away this past weekend. So if we could just have a moment of silence for those two individuals. Thank you. I'd just like to mention our 6:55 Legislative Matters Committee public hearing will be rescheduled for September 28th at 6:55 p.m. I'm told by our administrative aide in the office that the notice sent to the New Haven Register to put the legal notice in the paper did not appear as it was supposed to. So we will post a new notice in the West Haven Voice this coming week for a public hearing on September the 28th at 6:55 p.m. Stacy, if you could, now we'll enter into public session. If you could read what we have into the record.
Okay, we have a letter from Daryl Cummings, 14 Candy Avenue. Good evening, Chairman and council members. I would like to invite each member to the first open meeting for the West Haven Centennial Committee on the 17th of September 2020 at 6:30 p.m. at the gazebo on the West Haven Green, where appropriate social distancing will be observed. This will be the first of many public meetings involving the community in preparation of the momentous celebration of West Haven's incorporation as an independent municipality in 1921. These meetings afford the residents an opportunity to meet the members of the West Haven Centennial Committee, receive updates on the planning process, offer suggestions, and actively participate in the celebration honoring the city and its residents. Events throughout the city will highlight the history, people, and culture of the municipality, provide civic pride, a potential boost to the local economy, and bring much-needed positive attention to the city over the summer of 2021. The West Haven Centennial Committee has been formed by a diverse group of residents with decades of experience in event and festival management, fundraising and marketing expertise, media relations, and community involvement to honor the city of West Haven, celebrate its people, places, and achievements, and to inspire its continued greatness into the next century by promoting cultural and historical activities available to all citizens and visitors. As a public service, if approached by anyone requesting funds for the West Haven Centennial Committee, please ensure that they have and show a copy of the official authorized solicitation letter from the Centennial Committee and a copy of the IRS letter designating the status as a 501c3. This will ensure that the funds are directed to the official organization. Thank you, Daryl Cummings, Chair of the West Haven Centennial Committee.
Thank you, Stacy. That's all we have for public comment this evening.
That's all we have this evening, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you. So we'll enter into our regular council meeting. First order of business is the approval of the minutes of August 24th, 2020. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Councilman Bruno, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Massaro, Councilwoman O'Connor. Is there any discussion on those minutes? Councilman Cohen.
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring to attention and on page 10 of the minutes, please. I think there might have been just a slight miscount on the roll call votes. I believe it's on both of the roll call votes, if I'm counting correctly, it failed by 5, 8 yeses. I'm sorry. 5 yeses and 8 noes. And the other roll call vote should be 10 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. Someone wants to check my math. I think we're just off by 1.
Stacy, I'll have to ask you to go back to the notes. They're both 12 votes each. Are you saying, Councilman Cohen, that there should be 5 yeses instead of 4?
Yeah, when you basically count up each of the line items, you would have 5 yeses and 8 noes, and on the other one, you'd have 10 yeses, 2 noes, and 1 abstention. I just think that we're off by 1. Because I think everybody was here at the last meeting, so it would be 13.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do see that there are 5 yeses on the first one notated, but I guess the typo is the 4.
Right, and on the other,
And I think also it goes from 9 to 10 on the second one, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Barry?
yeah, it was just correct. Those were just the 2 off a little bit, just off by 1s.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Cohen. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I just have one other one, I think, on page 9. The last paragraph, second line, it says Councilman Donovan does feel, I believe it was Councilman Donovan doesn't feel that there should be a regulation on the length. And Councilman Donovan can speak for himself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Is that the only other one you had?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Councilman Donovan, you want to jump in?
Yes. Councilman Cohen, thank you for that. That is correct. On page 9, under legislative matters, I actually have 2 corrections. On the first paragraph, it says Councilman Donovan made a motion on behalf of the committee. I'm not on that committee. I went through the video. I believe it was Councilman Galagnano that brought that up. So that just needs to be corrected there. And yes, in that the third paragraph there, the second line, it should reflect does not feel that there should be a regulation on that.
Okay. Any other corrections on the August 24th meeting minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? As amended? Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? And those minutes pass as amended. Okay, I'm actually going to split the budget hearing meeting minutes up to the actual budget hearings, and then we'll vote separately on the special meeting on May the 7th. So the next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the budget meetings for the following dates: April 14, April 15, April 16, April 21, April 22, April 23, April 28, April 29, May 5, and May 7. Is there a motion to approve? Councilman Hamilton, Councilman Massaro, Councilman Cohen. Is there a second? Second, Councilman Donovan, Councilman Bruno. Is there any discussion on the budget meeting minutes? Terrific. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and those minutes are passed as presented. And lastly, approval of the minutes of the May 7th special city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Councilwoman Hennessy, motion to approve. Councilman Bruno, is there a second? Councilman Donovan, Councilwoman Hamilton, is there any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and those minutes pass as presented. Thank you. We now enter into communications, and I'll ask the clerk to please pass out tonight's communications.
Okay, we have before us Communication A from Maureen Lillis in regards to accepting a grant in the amount of $344,769 for COVID-related response from the Center for Disease Control and the Connecticut Department of Public Health, being assigned to the Finance Committee, Chairwoman Hosky. We have before us Communication B from the Commissioner Beth Sabo in regards to a tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and AFSCME Local 681, being assigned to the Finance Committee, Chairwoman Hosky. And we have before us Communication C from Corporation Counsel in regards to Adopt a Spot program, being assigned to Streets and Squares Committee, Chairman Conlon. And we also have before us Communication D from the tax collector in regards to overpayment refunds for the month of September 2020, which will be filed with tonight's minutes. And that's all the communications we have this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Stacy. All right, then we will enter into committee meetings. The first committee is the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Hosky.
Thank you, Chairman Quagliani. The time is now 7:22. The Committee on Finance is in session. Members present are Councilman Bruno, Councilman Cohen, Councilman Massaro, Councilwoman Hamilton, and myself acting as chair. We have before us tonight Communication A from Maureen Lillis in regard to accepting a grant in the amount of $344,769 for COVID-related response from the Center for Disease Control and the Connecticut Department of Public Health. I would like to entertain a motion to bring this out favorably.
Motion to bring out favorably.
Councilman Cohen, and may I have a second? Councilman Bruno and Councilwoman Hamilton, thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. We also have before us Communication B from Commissioner Sabo in regard to a tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and AFSCME Local 681 the chair would entertain a motion to bring this out favorably.
Motion to bring out favorably.
I have a second. Councilman Cohen and Massaro, thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilman Cohen?
Thank you, Chairwoman. I just want to say I spent some time on the phone with Beth today, Beth Sabo, and I would just like to thank those that, if this does pass, that there was a 4 years where there was no increase in wages, and they made some major concessions regarding health benefits and sick time. So I think during the time of MARB and the times that we're living in West Haven, I just really want to thank those negotiators on both sides of the table for really coming up with something that was probably very tough at first to swallow, but at the same time, I do think that was very realistic. So I personally like to thank everyone involved with this. That's all. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any discussion? I can open this up into the entire council. Does anyone else have any additional questions? Chairman Quagliani?
I do have a question. If Lee's on the line, I'd like to pose it to him if I can. I don't disagree at all with Councilman Cohen. I think everybody, all city employees have had to do a lot with a little and have foregone raises for the last multiple years. I just am a little bit concerned that the last contract that we voted on was for the Allentown Fire Department, who again has similarly gone without raises, and we felt that the raises were reasonable and in line with the 5-year plan. We approved it, and the MARB, once it got in front of them, they did not approve it. So I know that these raises are similar to that of the Allentown Fire Department, and I just want to hear from Lee to see what his thoughts are. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to vote how we think is appropriate, but I would like to hear his thoughts about, next steps with this particular contract and what sets this apart from the last one. Lee, are you here?
Nope. I pressed off microphone and instead of mute. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So the firefighters contract was an extension of an existing contract. This is a comprehensive contract required under state law since the old contract had expired. That's a major distinction because the extension is more voluntary and not timely. We don't have to do it this week. We have to do something or go to binding arbitration. Second, this contract is consistent with all the other contracts that the MARB has approved. Third, at least in the discussion that the MARB board members gave, it appeared that what they were really looking to was to have a more lengthy review of the pension that the firefighters have. And of course, this contract, there is no pension. Lastly, quite frankly, I think some of the MARB members misunderstood what we were trying to accomplish with the last contract, which won't happen with this contract. So for all those reasons, I don't anticipate any problem with the MARB board approving this contract.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hosky. I'm all set.
Any other questions? So can we bring it to a vote of just those in the committee? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The time is now 7:29 and your Committee on Finance is closed, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hosky. The next committee is Streets and Squares Committee, Councilman Conlon.
present are councilpersons Massaro, Johnston, Finelli, and Cohen, with myself acting as chair. We have before us tonight the matter of an adopt a spot program for applications and permits for city-owned parcels within West Haven. The chair will entertain a motion to bring this out favorably.
Motion to bring out favorably.
Okay, Councilwoman Cohen, Councilwoman Finelli, Councilwoman Massaro. Do I hear a second? Councilwoman Massaro, Councilwoman Finelli, thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Barry, go ahead.
Actually, this question is really more for Lee, if he's still on the line. Lee, the application that's in front of us, there's like the fourth bullet down. I'll just read it very quickly because I don't know if you have it in front of you. I agree that by undertaking this activity, I am not an employee or subcontractor of the city, and that my activity is strictly voluntary and unpaid, and any expenses I incur shall be my sole responsibility. If that's saying that if you had a business, if you worked for the city and you also had a business and you wanted to adopt a spot for your business, that you would not be allowed to, or would there be a special disclosure that would have to be made?
Okay, the general, to be just balled out frank, the general reason for that relates to people employed by the city who would be elected mostly. What you don't want to have is people using these signs to really promote themselves for an election when, you know, we're not, when you'd have a monopoly on the sign and it could impose on free speech. We use all employees because it relates to conflicts of interest. That being said, obviously there are times when if you weigh both sides of that issue, there could be a benefit to the city of having someone adopt a particular spot. And this whole program is supposed to be beneficial to the city on a number of levels. So I think if you had anybody had a particular instance where they thought it would be favorable, especially since, you know, you're going to have to maintain the spot. So that's either going to cost, I mean, you got to work or you got to hire a landscaper to keep the spot, you know, up and tidy. You know, we can certainly have a waiver program to make exceptions if those exceptions are in the city's best interests and don't fly in the face of any particular conflict of interest.
Okay,
but
so
that provision is really in there so that, you know, we're really just trying to combat potential abuse. But, you know, one might imagine a lot of potential for people to do a positive thing, and you wouldn't want to restrict that. So I'm sure if that develops, we'll develop some sort of a waiver policy where the council would get notice that a waiver has been applied for and it's being considered, and because it would be outside of the bounds of what you're approving. So I would feel more comfortable that the council would have notice if we're thinking of granting a waiver. But that's
okay,
certainly something that's envisioned.
all right, so a waiver is possible if that circumstance ever came up, because there's a lot of the reason why I bring it up, there's a lot of employees that work for the city that have some type of side jobs or other businesses, and they want to do something good and they want to take care of the flower bed or what have you, and it's just one of those things that we don't want to stop good deeds. So it's really going to be as long as there's that process available, then great. That's all, and that'll be taken up separately when and if that arises. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilman Conlon.
Is there any further discussion? Councilwoman Hosky? No? Oh, I'm sorry. No further discussion? In that case, all in favor? It's okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The Committee on Streets and Squares is closed at 7:34.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Conlon. The next committee is the Legislative Matters Committee, Councilman Galignano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Committee on Legislative Matters, your communication is being held tonight.
Thank you, Councilman Galignano. As a reminder, our public hearing for that will be again September 28th at 6:55 p.m. Unfinished business, there is none. We will now enter back into the council as a whole. Under committee reports, the clerk, please read communication D into the record.
Okay, we have communication D from the tax collector in regards to overpayment refunds for the month of September 2020, which will be filed with tonight's minutes.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, first committee is the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Hosky.
Thank you, Chairman. To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Finance, to whom was referred the matter of accepting a grant in the amount of $344,769 for COVID-related response from the Center of Disease Control and the Connecticut Department of Public Health. Reports that the committee met on the 14th day of September 2020 to consider said matter. It is unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved. The City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves and authorizes Mayor Nancy R. Rossi to execute a contract between the City of West Haven and the Connecticut Department of Public Health or their designee for the grant amount of $344,769 for COVID-related activities to be administered by the West Haven Department of Public Health.
Councilwoman Hosky has brought forward communication A from Maureen Lillis in regards to accepting a grant in the amount of $344,769 for COVID-related response from the Center for Disease Control in the Connecticut Department of Public Health. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Galignano, Councilman Conlon, Councilman Bruno. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilwoman Hosky, how is your vote?
I'm voting for it. I'm just sorry.
Hand up, I didn't know. Okay, thank you. Any abstentions? Okay, seeing none, that motion passes unanimously.
To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Finance, to whom was referred the matter of a tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and the AFSCME Local 681, reports that the committee met on the 14th day of September 2020 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved. The City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves and authorizes Mayor Nancy R. Rossi to execute the tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and the AFSCME Local 681, which was ratified by Local 681 on September 1st, 2020.
Councilwoman Hosky has brought forward communication B from Commissioner Beth Sabo in regards to a tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and AFSCME Local 681. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Galignano, Bruno, Cohen, Massaro. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion passes unanimously.
And that is all from the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hosky. Next up is Streets and Squares Committee, Councilman Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven. Your Committee on Streets and Squares, to whom was referred the matter of an Adopt a Spot program, reports that the committee met on the 14th day of September 2020 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves and authorizes Mayor Nancy R. Rossi to accept and execute Adopt a Spot applications and permits for city-owned parcels within West Haven.
Councilman Conlon's brought forward Communication C from Corporation Council in regards to Adopt a Spot program. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilman Cohen, Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilman Hosky. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Johnston.
Can I ask a question here? So in thinking about ways to sort of publicize this, can we find out, because there appears to be some existing signs in other places where this type of program existed in the past, can we find out who's in charge of that or how they have notified the public in the past about that and who sort of maintains all of that? I'm not sure who I'm asking of. Mayor or Lee maybe might know.
Yeah, I'll start with Lee if I could. Lee, are you still on the line?
Yeah, I don't understand the question, I guess.
I could paraphrase. I think the question is that I believe that we have similar parcels, Adopt a Spot parcels that may not be called that already in the city of West Haven, maybe the Second Avenue area.
Yeah, all right.
All right, so
I get it now.
what's the difference between the two and how do we incorporate those together, I guess?
Okay, so we don't control state sites. So the state has an Adopt a Spot program, and you see signs that will be similar to the Adopt a Spot signs in West Haven, but those are all on state-owned properties. And if people want to get involved in particular state-owned properties, I direct them to, or whoever directs them to, the state DOT. And that program's existed a long time and exists in other communities. Our program will be specifically for only city-owned property. And it's nice that I've already had some interest by parties in the city for different locations. It's really, part of the effort is for the city side, for the administration, is to identify spots that we don't get to timely enough and that, we can start to beautify if we can get somebody interested in adopting that spot. So it's not really going to conflict with any existing signs or programming because it's property that the city doesn't own. However, and I probably should never do this, but I would encourage any city councilor, if you have a spot that you think could use some beautifying, and I can't imagine in any of your districts there isn't one or two, you could identify those, and if you could identify somebody who's interested on top of that, that would be terrific, because I think it'll be a good program. It's a way to promote both West Haven and the business or entity that's cleaning up the spot, and then the spot looks better.
Councilwoman Johnson, I think you had another question, right?
My question was more, I guess I didn't realize, it makes sense, though the one I'm thinking of looks like it's state property, but my question was more of how, aside from council members, how do you go about publicizing that? Like, what is the city doing to make known what those spots are and then sort of procure businesses or nonprofits that might be interested?
Well, this will be given to the person who deals with communications in our city, Mr. Walsh, and he'll put that on the city's news and website. I'll distribute it to the Voice and the New Haven Register, as well as all the television outlets. So there'll be a story on it, just generally, maybe. I mean, I can't you know, they're not gonna, I can't force them to do a story. As to promoting the sites, if we have sites, I will go to all the department heads to get the word. It'll be more word of mouth, and I'll also use the fire department and the police chiefs to get the word out that there's an ability to do this, and see if we can get some interest. I think, you know, initially, I mean, we're going to see out of the gate probably about a dozen spots quickly. It's going to be the second phase that'll be more difficult to get people to adopt. But I've been surprised as to even in certain areas where one homeowner might want to adopt a spot just because they want to make it look better. I've had homeowners, and you'll see these because we're probably going to do transactions, inquire about properties that get overgrown, and they just want to buy the properties just so they're, you know, they can maintain them. So I'm encouraged that this will be a program that people take advantage of, and you'll see it have a positive effect.
Anything else, Councilwoman Johnson? Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? And that motion passes unanimously. Next up is the Legislative Matters Committee, Councilman Galignano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your Committee on Legislative Matters is now in session, and we held our communication tonight due to the air of the newspaper of no public hearing. And that closes your Committee on Legislative Matters.
Thank you, Councilman Galignano. Adoption of ordinances previously presented. There are none. Are there any council liaison reports this evening? Don't see any at this time. Any new business? Councilman Donovan.
Thank you, Chairman Quigley. I have a couple. Actually, I have one that's unfinished business, but I guess I can wait. It was more for Lee, so I can wait till next meeting for that. Under the new business, one of them, I know we received a letter of the resignation of our IT manager or director. I'd like to thank him for all the help he has done with me, helping me out through this. He's going to be missed. Good luck in his new endeavors on his new job, and hopefully we can get that job cleared up. And I think that was all I had to say with that.
Thank you, Councilman Donovan. Is there any other?
Sorry. This being the third quarter, I'd like to request the economic developer to show maybe at the next meeting if possible.
We will extend the invitation.
Thank you. That's it.
Councilman Finelli, did you have some new business?
Yeah, this is kind of ongoing business, I guess, but as we all know, there's been numerous issues with, non-residents parking along the street, on the beach all summer long. I know that the parking study is, I guess, somewhat in limbo right now. So I would just like to ask the mayor if possible, would we be able to recommission the beach parking task force so we can kind of get a head start on this to make sure that we don't have the issues next summer that we had this summer?
I actually am going to talk to the chief about it. I'm hopeful to begin with that this summer was unique in that COVID and not allowing our parking lots to be full. In fact, we lost revenue because of it. But I will look into, because the beach commission that was, I don't know if all the members, want to still serve or what was going on with that. But we will be looking, into the parking situation, because I know it's simmered down some, but that's only because now summer has drawn to a close once Labor Day comes. I mean, I'm hoping we still get some nice weather. But that being said, I do want to thank our police department because they've been actively ticketing. I know because people have called me to say that they received tickets and they didn't know that it was still residents only and that type of thing. So I know that they've been actively policing it down there. So once again, this is something we will look into. I do agree. I'd like to have a head start on it instead of like waiting for a May or a June type of thing. But I don't know if we put together the same exact people that we had the last one. And the last one was several years ago. I want to say it was like in 15 or 16. The chairman might be able to help us out with it because he was on. So he may remember when it was, but that was the last. And that's when they changed, which I'm very pleased about, putting the license plates on the sticker so that people couldn't get away with just using the beach sticker and handing them out and that type of thing.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I agree. If we can get a head start on it now, even if we can, I know we had some extra money that was found in the capital non-recurring account. I don't know if some of that could possibly be used for the signs for next year, but either way, as long as we can get a head start on this, you know, once the spring comes, if we're all busy with the budget, you know, it kind of goes by the wayside. So
just so you know, the capital non-recurring has not been audited. So we can't spend that money anywhere until it has time. And I don't know if Frank's still on or not. I'm looking for a thing, but as far as I know, that has not still been audited. That being said, it's going to take a lot of time and hours. I know I've done it in the past when I was the finance chair of the city council, because what you have to do is go through each, it's a multi-year document. You have to go back to the department heads and find out where was the project done, was it not complete, why is there funds, and then there's deficit accounts as well. So that being said, and then we would have to contact the auditors too, because there's a special way of administering that because it's multi-year. It's not as simple as like a regular budgetary year with all the money is the same year. These are multi-year and they date back, some of them for several years. As I said, it's going to take a lot of time. We're undergoing an audit. We have people out in finance, so we're doing the best we can with the personnel we have. If anyone wants to, I'm more than happy to send anyone a copy if they'd like to go and meet with the department heads, as I did, and try to, you know, get some information on the projects, because there's a lot. It's a very large report, if you will.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only thing I'll follow up on, so in the agendas and minutes of the city, there is all the minutes from the beach parking task force. It's dated, I think it was from 2016 that we did our work, but there was a final report that was issued, and I think some of the suggestions were taken and others were not. So maybe that's a good place to take a look for some of the things that were discussed back then. Other new business, Councilwoman Johnston?
Yes, I wish this was new business, but it's not. So I've gotten lots of phone calls from constituents in the 3rd District about the storm cleanup back from 6 weeks ago. And we still have streets over here with large branches, trees. You know, there's been some streets dealt with, but so I guess part of it is just feels to me that like a 6-week wait, it feels a little bit unreasonable. But I also am just wondering if, you know, I don't really understand what the problem is. So whether it's like resources or time or allocation of resources, but you know, is there some way, I mean, obviously to get things cleaned up, but because now it's bulk trash, so add that to the branches and stuff. But B, to sort of do some sort of self-assessment around like, what are we going to do for the next storm? Is there a more logistical, sequential way to handle this so that neighborhoods feel like, you know, the cleanup is sort of across the board? Less of a question, I guess, more of a statement, but I have sent emails, I've made phone calls, I've done my part.
Mayor, do you want to respond?
I'll respond as best I can. As we know, Tom McCarthy's not on the call. Just so everyone's aware, I live in the 7th District. My street, which had significant damage, knock wood, was very lucky. Wasn't my house, but we have a short street and we had a lot out, was just picked up last week. So the problem is, one, we don't have a lot of personnel. We have an aging workforce, and we have a workforce that the people that we have, we want them there in the winter when it's snowing and icing and that type of thing. And they have blocks of vacation that could be 4 to 6 weeks. And so it's a use it or lose it for some of that vacation. So it was kind of mandatory for them. They were not going to lose their vacation, so they have to take their vacation in the summer. So we are short people, and it's unfortunate because we would love to bolster it, and we're trying to hire temporary when we can. However, we don't have a lot of crews, and it's split. So in other words, Public Works only has so many people, then some are in Park Rec and building maintenance. So I can get the actual numbers for you, but again, everyone thinks we have hundreds of people, and I wish we did. And I know we get the push because we could hire people and create positions, but then it's going to create, more expenditure. So once again, I'm more than happy to look. I'm sure Tom would be more than happy to go over it with anyone, but it hasn't been easy, to say the least. So I understand what you're saying, because my street, as I said, didn't get picked up until last week. So mine was, if it was 6 weeks, mine was in the 5th week. So I feel pain. I know it. I wish it could have gotten picked up sooner, but unfortunately, I know that we're working with limited personnel, not only in Public Works, but especially in Public Works.
Anything further, Councilwoman Johnson? Councilwoman McGee.
Thank you. After reading, researching, writing, and receiving insight from alderpersons in New Haven and councilpersons in Middletown and Hamden, I am ready to present the resolution to the council as well as the mayor for your review and feedback, as well as questions to declare racism a public health crisis. So hopefully that, we can mobilize this and push it forward, and then it'd be on the agenda for the next meeting. But I'm looking forward to some feedback from the council as well as the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McGee. Councilman Cohen.
Hi, just a couple of quick follow-ups and a couple of new business. The final report of the last beach committee was April 2016. It's on to your point, Mr. Chairman, is on there. I'm using that because, to the other point being made, is I made some good progress, which I do hope to share with the council in some form. Should it be with the beach committee or with the council? The non-resident parking prices of other communities and their protocols and practices. I've been working on that, and at least it's something to consider as we come up with whatever might be coming up. So that's coming along fine. In terms of Public Works, I had mentioned at the last meeting, and I still hold to this, that once we're back together in person, I will be holding a committee meeting on whatever Wednesday it might be, not to basically just review our limitations, our strengths, not just what went right or wrong, but as we go into the future budget seasons with Public Works, what the expectations are. I agree with Councilwoman Johnston that 6 weeks is too long. At the same time, when you only really have one company doing trees, and you don't have a backup because the backups can get better money from other towns, it's an obstacle. And so there's all those types of things that I think within our budget process next year, especially because of the rude awakening of this storm, it's just stuff to consider. And on top of that, as we all know, we also bonded for Public Works. So maybe that'll alleviate having some new equipment. Again, once we meet again, I do think it's an opportunity. I've already alerted a couple weeks ago. I'd alerted, and Tom McCarthy and Joe Soto, who's our emergency management director, about that we will have this meeting, and they're very receptive to take all of our questions. So that's in the works anyway. Really, the new business that I had that I hope that the council could consider is about a week ago, or actually a little less than a week ago. I had followed up with Frank because I knew our budgets And very simply asked him the question, said, Frank, do you know our July tax collection rate compared to July 2019 and 2018? And the reason why I asked it was because of the pandemic. You know, are we going to really reach that 98.5% average collection rate? And what we know here is tax collections through July, we were $8 million less than last year, $8 million less. But that was mostly because the final day for payment without penalty was August 3rd. Frank spoke to Leslie, and he believes that, you know, that things will hopefully in August, we haven't gotten the August figures in yet, expect to be higher. But I guess the point that I'm really making is, you know, we hope it's going to be higher, but if we start lagging behind in the next 3 or 4 months, and I'm going to be asking for these monthly flashes, if you will, to see how close we are to plan and collection rates, that we might want to take some proactive measures in terms of I'm not want to say decreasing, adjusting, reviewing the budget because of the pandemic and because what I basically fear is those collection rates may not meet 98.5%. And I do hope I'm wrong, but I am concerned about it. And right now, hopefully August will come in higher and we might be within reason of the last 2 months. So that was just really an FYI. I think it's really important for us to take that into consideration from that perspective. The other question I had, and I guess if Lee's still on the phone, is at the Havens, I saw, you know, as we all saw in the paper, you know, it's the beginning of the demolition, and I guess that was part of the, I guess, $4 or $5 million grant from the state where they're knocking down some of the Bilko building, and then the rest of it's going to be used for Elm Street. I'm just wondering, you know, all of this money, all of this work is really part of the grant from the state that they're really putting out at the end of the day. Has the developer filed any other permits yet, or has there been, how many permits have been filed? Have they put out any of their own money yet, or is that a later stage? That was one of my questions, because it just seems like the state's doing their part, we're doing the money, the demolition's starting, but I don't see any announcements about permits of taking down houses or any additional cost the developers have put into this project yet. Lee, can you answer that, or maybe I'm out of line?
So,
Yeah.
Barry, before I got feedback. So I'll let Lee give you what he can, but I mean, after last meeting, part of our business was to invite the developer to next council meeting. So my expectation is that an invite is going to go out to the developer to give us an update for next meeting to deal with all these types of issues, right? We've been getting a lot of information, and a lot of information, you know, seems to turn into days, into months, into years. So I think, you know, based on our discussion from last meeting, we really need to get a representative of the developer to answer the questions that I think we all need. We're all looking for answers for. But, you know, that being said, Lee, if there's something specific tonight that you can answer Councilman Cohen's question, please do.
Well, yeah, as far as the developer putting up their own money, the developers put up $30 million. We expect they're going to put up more money, but they have put up $30 million. And they are looking for state assistance. They had some indication they would get a lot more state assistance than they're ending up with. So yes, right now they're spending some of the state assistance that they've been given after they put in $30 million. That was expected. And as I say, it was a lot lower than they anticipated. The other thing I would invite you to do is, if you recall, when New Haven used to have a Coliseum, you might want to drive down there, and I can show you articles that Long Wharf was going to locate there, and I can show you articles about a lot of other things that were going to go there. And I even told my children that I was going to buy the Coliseum for $1 so that it wouldn't go down, because my kids played hockey there. So the point on that is, development projects do take time. They take more time when you have a COVID crisis, but it is moving along the way I expected it would be once COVID started. You know, I anticipate it's going to continue moving. I would point out last that the developer, the Simon Group, is the major mall developer, owner in the whole world. And as opposed to trying to get itself out of the business of retail and malls, they are going in head first since COVID started. They have bought JCPenney. They have bought Brooks Brothers. They have bought a number of retail outlets. They have bought malls in the state of Connecticut, the West Farms Mall, the Stanford Mall. So they're giving every indication that they're in this business to stay. And this is one of the rare sites in the whole country that's on the water, which is why I have confidence that, and no indication otherwise, that they're continuing to go the right direction. Now, would we like more private money? Of course we would. But I think the developer would like to make sure they're exploring and make sure that they get every bit of public money that they can on the table. The problem is that they were informed by some major state people that, oh, you're going to build the mall anyway, and so we don't have to give you as much money as we were going to. And unfortunately, what that's done is they think that once the mall's built, all their leverage is gone to get state assistance. So I think you're going to find that they're going to seek to try to get the last bit of state assistance, or make an attempt to get the last bit of state assistance that they can, and then you're going to see them go great guns to finish the mall project. But unfortunately, COVID probably has slowed things to some degree. But yes, right now it's $30 million on them. It's $5 million on the government side. And then, of course, there was government money put into the site before any developer came in. There was federal money and state money. So it's a partnership to try to get it developed. I fully appreciate everybody's impatience, but as I say, sometimes these development projects take time. You know, the New Haven train station just celebrated its 100th anniversary, and when Dick Lee was mayor, he slated that train station to be demolished, and then it took 15 years to get a renovation in place, but you really have, I think everybody would agree, an architectural jewel sitting there in New Haven. And so, unfortunately, sometimes things that are really good take time, and I hope people continue to have patience.
Yeah, I was really, the reason why I even brought it up is because I must have my calendar wrong. I was hoping they were going to be here at this meeting or maybe the next meeting, because we extended an invitation out. I'm losing track of time, a month ago. Maybe I'm wrong. But in any case, I look forward to them being here at the council. It's just, you read stuff in the paper, Lee, and you're just kind of wondering, okay, it's exciting, and I think we're all looking forward to it. Because the other thing that, just reading the papers and stuff, and again, talking about taking time, and I think you're right, they're going to be looking for any type of government, state help they can, is they were, again, what I read, I should say, they were maybe seeking a special taxation district, which I think would have to be done through the state legislature to approve. Again, what I'm just saying is that's just another step in what's going to be a long process. So, that was really my, and not knowing what permits might have already been taken out beyond what's being done. I guess not yet, which is fine. So you've answered my question, and I thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cohen. Does anyone else have any new business? Councilwoman Hosky?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm so excited. I'm gonna get my notes, so I got a lot. Well, my first thing is I'm a little concerned about the storm and that we had, and the thought that everyone's on vacation, so we're struggling with the pickup. I could be wrong, but maybe we can look into it, Stacy. I thought there was federal funding, FEMA. I thought that they considered Connecticut a what do you call that? I Google it. It's so simple. Emergency disaster declaration. So I would think that there would be tens of thousands of dollars out there that the city could actually apply for to possibly hire crews, maybe even 10 crews. Each district gets their own crew, and to clean it up. I don't think we have to just wait on our as the mayor said, aging workforce, which is that in and of itself is concerning, that statement. But maybe we can hire those contractors with that money. And I agree with Councilwoman Johnston's idea. In my job, we call it a lessons learned. That after we have a project or this big rollout, we all kind of get together and figure out what went well, where our opportunities are, and how we're going to then do it better the next time. Because I drove around my district. I don't just stay in my district and send in reports to Public Works. I actually do all of them. I've done it in the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, to try to get those streets picked up. But going on 6 weeks, so that's another thought. And unfortunately, 4 months ago, moving on to my second topic, 4 months ago, I asked about the capital non-reoccurring, and I was told finally by Frank, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to lie or exaggerate or misquote, maybe a month ago or less, that there was $300,000, like Councilwoman Finelli said, but it's going on 4 months that we've been asking, or I personally have asked about that being balanced. And unfortunately, unlike the mayor, when she was the finance chair, I don't see myself going around and doing other people's job. Maybe the city can get an intern and they can go to all the department heads and figure out what's going on, but it's going on 4 months of me waiting for that. The parking study we talked about, Stacy, I don't know if you've gotten any information in regards to the police pension, if that's gone back out. I'm still waiting. It's like I ask about these things, but I'm just ignored. I asked about the handheld devices. That seems to be up in question as to who's supposed to be handling that or getting that information back to me. Probably the most interesting thing that I have is that the IT study that we asked about, and let me just clarify that nobody ever said that the IT director was going to be without a job. Nobody ever in any budget meeting, irregardless of what the finance director for the city wants to tell the MARB, or what was written in an email to us today, or even what the letter of resignation says. I will publicly say the intent of the IT study was to consolidate resources, be more efficient, and to determine by people whose job it is to know how we might be able to do things better. Never once was the IT director led to believe he would be without a job. And I don't know, I thought, and I could be wrong, and please correct me, that he's a union employee. Do we know if he's a union employee? Can't just lose his job. Do we know if he's a union employee, Chairman, if he's protected by the, oh, he is. Okay. So the union protects his job. Imagine that. So now we couldn't have, the city council had no ability, in the words of everybody. And I also know that we were told that, the city council was interfering in his day-to-day operations. Never the case. We always said we wanted to consolidate and possibly work in collaboration. So that was never we never said we were going to outsource IT. Never said that either. And it was also mentioned that we had a failure to hire somebody the last 4 years. I only remember, and I could be corrected, that it was this year that the city council was brought to the city council to add a position. And then we thought that it would be a good idea if we look to consolidate resources And also that, I don't know, it was just really, there was just a lot of things that I felt like I needed to clear up, because the innuendos and the agenda to making it seem that we ran the IT director out of town is disgusting to me. So, yeah, so just those things, if we can find out, I'm pretty sure the governor, there was a state of emergency in Connecticut. So I'd like to know if we have applied for any funding. I think that's about it. Oh, no, one more thing. I also want to know, since we've known for quite some time, about a week, I don't see the posting for the IT director yet up on the city website, but it could be just me. Maybe I don't know where to look, but we've known for about a week. Have we, well, with the official letter, has that gone up yet? Or when are we going to do that? And when is the IT study going to go out? Because it's in 4 months. 4 months, kind of like the rest of the stuff. That's all I got.
Anyone else have any new business? Councilwoman.
Councilwoman.
Hi. I am going to bring up a touchy subject, but I believe as a group, we need to firm up a date as to when we're going to meet in person again. It is now fall, and we've asked the entire school system to meet in person. I feel as the leaders of the community, we need to lead by example. We need to come out in person, and I think with a little planning, and if we all wear our masks, we could use the Harriet North Room so that we could social distance. We need to show everyone that we are leaders and that we're willing to do what we're asking the school system to do. And that's all I have on that.
So Councilwoman O'Connor, I'll just respond to that. So this meeting, I had all expectations of being an on-ground meeting. And I worked with the Public Works Commissioner in order to put a plan together that we thought was workable. But that plan never had not been approved to my knowledge. So as of now, I don't believe we're allowed to use any city buildings. So we would have to look to other buildings to have that on-ground meeting. But I'll get better clarification of that. Maybe the mayor could respond what her thoughts are as far as having an on-ground meeting in a city building in the next couple of weeks. So, but thank you. Any other council people have any new business? Councilwoman Cohen, back for you.
Yeah, I think this might be a question for the mayor. I was approached by a constituent regarding the centennial celebration, and because they have entertainment, if you will, and they're interested in entertaining. And I honestly wasn't sure. I know that I'm an honorary member, so that's probably why they contacted me. They saw the release and so forth. But have we had any meetings, or is it just going to be the nonprofit Centennial Committee? I just want to send the person to the right place is what I want to do,
We have had a meeting, and we did discussed with, I'll call it the nonprofit group, if you will, but the ones that have the nonprofit named West Haven Centennial Committee. They are independent of the city, but we are willing to work with them. Beth Sabo is the chair of the Centennial Committee, the city-run Centennial Committee, and we are planning events. The events are going to commence, we're figuring, around the beginning of June, and it's going to go through like the July 3rd or maybe shortly thereafter, 3 to 4 weeks. And actually, Beth was in the process today of reaching out to several people to get them on board, and so that's what we're doing. And anyone who does, if they did want to donate, they could, they make the check out to the City of West Haven, similar to other functions, whether it be the Savin Rock Festival or renting the Savin Rock Conference Center or the Fireworks Committee. We'll have a special fund that will have its own accounting, if you will, through our our finance department to do that. But yes, there was a committee that was started. It wasn't under the city or, with the city. We have welcomed any of their members, and some of their members have joined the committee. A few want to stay independent of the committee, which is fine. We want to have a very nice time and a very nice celebration. So the long-winded thing is, my suggestion would be have the person or organizations contact Beth Sabo, if you will.
Okay. And as honorary members of the committee, is it possible as honorary members of the committee for us to get copies of those meeting minutes of the Centennial Committee?
When we haven't, in other words, everybody hasn't been appointed. It was just a few of us. It has not been, appointed. I do want it to run like anybody who's on there. Again, we're going to work as a Centennial Committee. There will be minutes. There will be agendas. There will be, collaboration, because we want everybody's thoughts. It's a big deal. I think it's a big deal. So I would like to, see it nicely done. And I know we're in the right direction with Beth Sabo leading the ship.
Thank you.
Robin, is there any other new business? From council members first, and then I'll turn it to you, Mayor.
Okay. Any council members?
Okay, Mayor, you're up.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to respond. I took as good a notes as I could. Starting with the storm. The storm with FEMA money, and this was the way it has been, and I will double check with Doug, because he's been doing, our grant writing, as everyone is aware. FEMA money, you don't get normally immediately. The COVID money has been good about coming through, but the FEMA money usually takes some time. So it doesn't help us any if we don't have the money in the account that maybe we're going to get it 6 or 8 months from now. I will check with Doug and see what the timetable is as far as that goes. I never said that all of the people were on vacation. When I used aging workforce, maybe I should have said long-term workforce, people with a lot of vacation workforce, however you do, because as you know, it accrues. And again, I didn't say all people. What I said was the people who have a long amount of vacation, 6 to 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it may be, there's a certain portion of it. If they don't use it by their anniversary date, they lose it. So we have to choose whether or not they use it, in the winter or the summer. Also, as far as that goes, there have been injuries. There's one person who was laid up with a motorcycle accident for some time and will be, a little while before they come back. We try our best to hire temporary people. But once again, we don't have huge public works like other cities and towns do. And I'd be happy to check with CCM to put that out. As far as the capital non-recurring, I personally don't have the time to do it. And I know Frank doesn't have the time to do it. We are undergoing ADP. We are also doing an audit. We are in the process of getting our auditors information that they need to put the audit. We have people out in the finance department. So once again, I'm open to volunteers or anyone who would like to take a crack at it that would be interested in talking to the department heads, because that's what has to be done first. As I said, I did take the job on and I did meet with the department heads. In fact, when the chairman wore his other hat, the chief of police, I went and met with him a couple of times on capital non-recurring to find out about projects with the police department. I met with Beth Sabo. It takes a lot of time. Right now, finance is under the gun to get ADP up and running by December, so everything is taken care of. And as I said, we do have a couple of people out in that department. We're working as good as we can, but again, we don't have unlimited resources. As far as the handheld police devices, that I would suggest speaking with the chief of police. I never other than the night that we talked about it, and then I found out afterwards that they weren't put into place. It was something to do with the percentage, and that now, because we ordered more devices, it wouldn't be cost effective. But once again, I don't want to speak for the chief of police, so I would ask that you contact the chief of police. As far as the IT director's position, I know that I have the minutes, and I believe all of you do, and I don't know what page it is on, but the motion that was made does not say anything about keeping the IT director or any personnel, for a fact, in that department. And I believe the letter that states went back 4 years, that went before all of your time, including mine, because I haven't been here for 4 years. So he has been trying to get additional help. That was also recommended by Marv, to have an additional person in there to help him. But the motion talks about outsourcing IT, and that's what it said in the minutes. The motion was made to do a study to outsource IT. Again, that's what the motion was. That's what was seconded. That's what was voted on. And that's what was put into record tonight when everybody approved the minutes. So I have to believe the minutes are correct. No one, again, I think the world of the IT director, as I do all of our employees. I think they're all hardworking people. They come in ready to work in a very difficult environment as far as that goes. So once again, I just want to say that when the motion was made, it made it sound like the IT department, we were looking for a study to outsource IT because that's what the motion said. So at the end of the day, interpretation is interpretation, perception is perception, but that's what the minutes say. And that's what the minutes said that were, voted on this evening. And so I sent you all the letter because you were mentioned in the letter, and I felt that it was, and I did check with the person, the author of the letter, and he was okay with the letter being sent out. It would be FOI-able anyway, but this way that you did have the letter. So once again, as far as putting an IT study out, just so everyone's aware, in the charter, there are the authority and duties of the mayor, and there are authority and duties of the city council. The city council is a legislative branch. You can suggest, you can put it into the budget, but it's up to the executive branch if and when we execute it. Right now, any research that I have done, whether it be through CCM or contacting other cities, shows that it would cost more to do it. Now, once again, it is up to the executive branch. The city council can recommend, and it would have been nice if the city council was really big on this, that somebody contact my office and maybe we sat down and talked about it prior to the budget meetings. And I would suggest that going forward, because the next budget will be here before you know it, that if somebody has an idea or they think that there's a way of saving money or increasing revenue or anything at all like that, I'm open for suggestion. I would love to be able to increase our revenue and save money on the expenditure side. But communication is the key. When you just bring it out blindside, us at a budget meeting and, just it went through like with nothing, no time, it makes it difficult. And it doesn't mean that we're all on board. So as I said, as far as the study, I don't know where the parking study is. That I don't know if Lee is still on the phone, but he would be the best one to answer that because I know we did receive responses for the parking study. I don't know what the holdup is or where it was. And I think that I answered everything. I tried to jot it down. So hopefully that answered everything. Thank you.
Mayor, the one question is Councilor O'Connor's question about the public meeting.
Okay, the public meetings, I have a workforce that I have to consider as well. And to bring the public in right now, especially where we just had to close the high school, I am not, and it's not only me. We have a team, and the team is myself, Maureen Lillis, Joe Soto's consultant, and Lou Fogno is involved now as well. And we try to do the best to keep the people safe. I owe my employees a safe environment. If for some reason, for instance, worst case scenario, say we came in and the public came in and there was a COVID case in there, and something happened that somehow it can contract it to an employee, that can and cannot, it depends on the situation, but could be a workers' comp claim. So once again, I do webinars, I try to do my due diligence, and I contact the people in the know. I'm not the health director. But right now, my suggestion would be, is if you want in-person meetings, we have a beautiful high school with a huge auditorium. Everything is on the first floor. That doesn't involve elevators, because what I've learned over the past few months, elevators are kind of like a no-no, if you will. It's not the best thing to get into an elevator with a group of people at this point in time. So the high school, I believe they can do live streaming, which I think is very important. That is the one good thing that did come, that we have been live streaming. And again, because I did work with the IT director, and we were proactive and got the camera in city council chambers for the first time, we've had continuous videoed meetings, which I want to see continue. So that's why I think I'm big on the high school, because every other venue either requires elevators, or the high school is all first floor. Now, I have not consulted the superintendent of schools. That is his domain, so it would entirely be up to him. If it's something that the city council is interested in, I would suggest that the chairman collaborate with the superintendent to find out if he would be okay with that. So that's my spin on that right now. I mean, I'm not saying don't have public meetings. I just, right now, City Hall, when I've talked to everybody, is not the place to have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Conlon.
Okay, I got it unmuted. Unless I listened to the wrong TV station today, I was told that West Haven High School is closed today and tomorrow because a person has COVID-19. I don't know what the rush is to have in-person meetings. Let me remind you, though, that at 78 years old, I am an elected official. I didn't appoint myself to this position. And if you rush to have in-person meetings, you could be freezing me out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Conlon. Councilwoman, anybody else for the first time? Councilwoman Hosky.
I just want to set the record straight that, Mayor, you were advised prior to the budget meetings that we were looking to do an IT study. You weren't told for the first time. We had a conversation, and I told you about the changes I was looking to do. So if we're going to talk about setting the record straight, then just be sure that I remember those conversations. I told you. You were more than aware. I knew you weren't happy about it. How would I know you weren't happy about it unless I had that conversation with you? So that conversation, I didn't nitpick all of it, but we spoke out loud about it. No one ever said, so whatever the minute says, you can sit here and try to make it seem like whatever, but nobody ever said. And when we talked about it in caucus, when we talked about it, nobody ever said we would be getting rid of him. I actually remember saying he could oversee it all. I talked about bringing in the library. I spoke about all that. I talked about consolidating. And when that was a concern of yours, it was just, who's to say? It was said. No one ever said it was to get rid of him. And again, I will reiterate to everybody, it's a union position. He'd be able to bump people. So this idea he was going to be without a job is ridiculous.
All right. If there's no more new business, the only thing I'd like to mention, Mayor.
Yes, I would like to just state this. Let me explain how the union works. Unions, yes, you can bump. He is in the 1103 union. So you can bump within the 1103. There's one IT department and one IT position that he would qualify for. So to make it sound like he could go and take another position in 1103, like whether it be procurement or all the different positions that we have in 1103, that would not be possible. So that being said, yes, more than likely, if there's nowhere to bump, you have nowhere to go but out of City Hall. Also, the language that was just used by the chairwoman, finance chair, is accurate. She told me there was no collaboration. If you listen to what I said earlier, a sit down is collaboration before a budget, sitting down, talking about expectations. There was no collaboration. At no point did I ever want IT outsourced, nor did I ever say that I wanted IT outsourced. I would have liked to have had another person in there, and that's why I went along with putting that position in, because I think it was a very necessary position, very necessary, and Marb did agree. But once again, as executive branch, I am responsible, and my team is responsible for running City Hall day to day. We do our best every day. We all go in every day and we do our best. The City Council is the legislative branch. Your duties are outlined in the charter, and I hope everybody at this point in time had read that part, and you can review the mayor's duties. It clearly states it's day to day. So for the council to put it in and order me to have a study or order me to outsource something, to me, is really not acceptable. It's not right. It's not right by our charter. And if there was something that somebody did want to outsource, talk to me. Let's see if we can come to something. Not telling me this is what I'm going to do. I know you don't like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So that's all I'm saying about the subject. I don't know if Lee's on the line, so hopefully I didn't cross any lines, and neither did anybody else, because I haven't mentioned any name. But thank you all. Thank you to the council for the work you do, and good night.
So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up this evening, if I can, under new business, just with a couple of comments. So the first comment is that, you know, to me and through this budget process, it's our job to look at all alternatives for every form and function of government, right? It's our responsibility as being elected by the residents of this community to identify if there are ways that we could be more efficient, or if things could cost less, or if we could collaborate amongst various city departments or nonprofit entities in order to maybe, you know, have a better product at a lower cost for our constituents. So I don't apologize for us putting forward monies to earmark for an IT study, because listen, I'm not an expert either, but let's bring in an independent body to determine whether it's IT or whether it's any other department, that it's operating efficiently and we're using the taxpayers' dollars as efficiently as possible. That's our role. We're the fiduciary responsibilities individuals of the budget. So that's our role, to be able to have a check and balance with the executive branch. So I don't apologize for us putting forward a request for an IT study. I don't apologize for not funding a new position, because it's illogical to me to fund a new position until we know, is that really the best way to do things? Keep everything in-house? Maybe we should collaborate, partially outsource. Maybe we should connect with the Board of Ed or the police department or the fire departments or the library or wherever else. So it's our job to collect information. If we continue to want to do things the same way that it's always been done, guess what? We're going to get the same outcome that we've had, you know, and that outcome's not very good. So I don't apologize for us looking to kind of overturn the stones and identify a better way of doing things, whether it's IT, whether it's any other department in the city. So I'm okay with that. And I expect to continue to be challenged, because that means, you know what, we're doing our jobs. So that's all I have to say in regards to that. I will leave us on a positive note that if you all read the story about the West Haven Veterans Museum and Learning Center, they're struggling a bit because of COVID and because their tours are down. And I reached out to the president, Arlene DeGrand, to see if there's some way we could collaborate with them. They could have a fundraiser to raise some money. Right now, they have a GoFundMe page. So if you could consider a donation to the West Haven Veterans Museum and Learning Center, it is one of the jewels in this community. So we can make sure that they keep their doors open. That being said, and I don't see any other hands up. Oh, I do see another hand up. No? Okay, I don't see any other hands up. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion to adjourn, second.
Okay, and we're adjourned, and I want to thank you all very much and hope you have a good rest of the evening.
That Sabo has left the meeting.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.